Um, oh, you can't watch live if you're not logged in. That's odd. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that I come on live and keep my commitment to myself, that I do the things that I have to do. Hoping that everybody's getting value from my recommendations. So, everything from being sure that you burn your sage very often, being sure that you use your crystals if you have it. If you don't own these crystals, the two major crystals that I've recommended thus far, which are obsidian, which is a black crystal, I don't have it here right now to show you, and selenite. If you want to see what crystals I'm talking about, you can go onto my page or my channel, sorry, and you can check those out. Obviously, I burn, well, it's not obvious, but I burn a ton of sage. I usually sage up my space pretty good before I get on live. Recently, I know that I've really pissed off some actual gang stalkers on here, with the advice that I'm giving. This YouTube is riddled with people who pose as gang stalking victims but are actually gang stalkers themselves. And so they've gotten into my videos, and but you know, they're, I think everybody who's being gang stalked knows that they're on YouTube, they're on all the social platforms. And they definitely, you know, they do a lot to disturb your engagement. I'm not the only person that they do this to. I've seen other people complain about this. Readers have mentioned this and stuff. But you just have to do what you have to do, because obviously there are people who need your advice and who need what you're talking about. There's always negative energy being thrown around. You know, for me, myself, I am going to be attacked spiritually until God sees fit as to, you know, get this person, John Ferreira, off the planet. That's just how it's gonna go. I'm prepared for that, and it's life. It is what it is. So just a quick recap before I get into it, and I'm gonna add another piece to it as well, so people following along on the stuff that I'm talking about can know, you know, how to protect themselves, how to alleviate some of the pain, how to send the energy back, and how to not have to succumb to it. So first things first, sage. Sage clears your environment, it clears your space, and you want to burn tons of sage. You want to get that energy away from you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about sage and energy. Actually, I'll talk about it right now. When I talk about clearing energy, this is what I mean. And I've talked about, and I have a video that I posted. It's one of my lives, it's under my resource section, talking about energy and setting up an altar. This is what it looks like. I want you to see the bubbles in the glass. This is what it looks like when negative energy is sent your way. I'm going to mention a couple things. This is basic. So this is not something that anybody who's like super into energy work is not going to know. Like, this is like 101, right? People who work in dark energy, they want to see this. They want to see this because this is indicative that the energies that they're calling upon are actually with them. If you do not dabble in dark energy, you do not want to see this. Okay? So, when I was younger, when I was growing up, we would always keep a glass of water next to our bed, on our heads, on our nightstand, and I was always told, like, take a drink from it. I don't know why, don't ask me why, but it's something that we do. But anyway, if you have a normal glass of water sitting in your home, it's not gonna look like this, just sitting stagnant. Water catches the energy. So if you have negative energy being sent at you, and everybody talks about energy weapons, so think about what I'm saying in regards to the energy weapons that people are referring to. We don't have to agree whether it's military or spell work. That is not what's important right now. Just consider what I'm saying. When you see your space like this, This means you've been sent a considerable amount of dirty energy. This is where your crystals come in. You're going to have to put your obsidian crystal on your skin right away. It deflects energy and it creates a huge shield around you. That means energy is not going to be able to come in. But for the fact, and in, when I say in, I mean your body. But for the fact that it looks like this already means that you were probably already sent a bit of energy that you have yet to clean. So that's where your selenite comes in. And you're probably going to need that selenite to be on your skin for a couple of hours because you really want it. Selenite takes some time to really cleanse you out. So you want to give the selenite a little bit of time to work. And when I say a bit of time, I mean a couple of hours. So you see this, you're going to get your crystals, but also you need to sage your space. You need to, if you're not prepared to sage the entire house or at least clean out the room that you're in, you need the crystals and just burn the sage and leave it with you like this. So the sage will deflect the energy that's coming in and, just keep it burning throughout the entire time. Keep putting some fresh sage leaves on it, on the flame, and, let it smoke up. And between the two elements, that should be enough to deflect a lot of energy. Heavy, light, doesn't matter. So that's what you're going to do in the meantime to deflect energy. Now, you can always test out what I'm saying. So you don't need to have just one glass on your nightstand. You can go ahead and have like 3, 4, 5, who cares? What you will notice is when you put the glasses on your nightstand or your bedside before you go to bed, when you wake up, all 5 of them will have the bubbles. It's not going to be just one of them. The energy in general is going to be like that. And you can do other experiments with this. So for example, if you go out with people, if you go out with friends and you're at a restaurant, you order water to the table and you start seeing these bubbles accumulate in the glass, somebody's probably carrying something on their body that they may or may not know about. Some people are saddled with this kind of energy and they know about it because they wanted to, because they summoned it. But some people are carrying this energy and they have no idea. They have no idea they've been sent that energy. I've been around people all the time that are carrying this kind of energy, and it'll make you have, depending on how sensitive you are to it, sometimes it makes you have a reaction. Your eyes start watering, you start feeling uncomfortable around them, all kinds of things happen, but you have to be aware of energy in your space. So I just took this to show because whenever I'm doing anything in my home that they don't want me to do, like progressing in any way, working in any way, there's a lot of sabotage, attempted sabotage to everything that I'm doing, then I know this is happening. So today I was sent a ton of energy and of course I can see it. Now there's different kinds of energy while we're on the topic. So I'll just talk about this a little bit more. There's different kinds of energy. You can have energy where it sends kind of like a physical attack, like a physical ailment. Or you can have energy that is like heavy stuff, like the stuff that when they put you into the cycle of being gang stalked, which is where they pull you between worlds. Like there is your normal world that you're in, and then they're pulling you spiritually into another world, I call them portals, into another portal. This is a completely different world where you're now in their world. They're in control of, if you are in that world, they would be in control of, say, your career, your money, a lot of things. It takes time and patience to build you into that type of spell work. It's not immediate. However, there's different kinds of energies. So how do I say this simply? Different kinds of work can be dealt with in different ways. I typically I don't think I need anything sent to me that's health wise. So I don't see the point of that. I would want to clean that off. But if you're sent energy, first of all, let me back it up. Energy is spiritual currency. It is not all of it is life force, but you can consider it as everything you do needs energy. You need some sort of energy to get anything done. So if someone's sending you energy, good or bad, it doesn't really matter. So, like I said, I clean off anything to do with body, anything to do with health. I clean that sort of stuff off. But anything to do with, just give me a second here. Anything to do with, say, if somebody sends me negative energy about my business, negative energy about my money, negative energy about my love life, you can ask God to use that energy to help you build something significant with it. On your own, you're only generating so much energy. But if you're being sent energy, someone's donating it to you anyway. It's kind of like, I don't even have a good example of this because it's like, if we look at money as currency, money's deemed good no matter what. You're going to keep money no matter what. How do I explain this exactly? I'll just say this. If anybody is sending you evil eye, is sending you negative energy, you're being gang stalked, things aren't going right, what I would do is I would just pray and ask God to use that energy to build a new life for myself. And the reason that is really important and the reason you want to do that is because you are being sent a monumental amount of energy that you're probably not going to have the opportunity to get, maybe even in another lifetime. I'm not even going to say at another point in your life. I'm saying you might not have another lifetime that you're going to get this much energy for free. People have to go through a lot just to get one person to give them that much focus and that much energy. One person. When you're being gang stalked, you have hundreds of people, maybe. Who knows? Who knows how many? Who knows the numbers? Tens, hundreds of people sending you energy, sometimes all at once. Whether it's people gossiping about you, focusing in on you, tracking you down, following you, projecting their feelings at you, whatever it is. Spiritually, you've just found yourself in like a lottery type situation. It's very difficult. They have to, sometimes, a lot of times, people torture people to get them to the point that they can get one person to generate that much energy, which they siphon. They have to siphon it, and that's breaking spiritual law. A bunch of people, a full community, and sometimes people from overseas are sending you all of their energy. There are people being drained of energy, practitioners needing to use energy from other people, to siphon from other people who are in agreement to send it your way in a negative capacity. Some energy you want to ask, you're going to send back independently, but you want to ask God to keep the bulk of this energy. And you're going to sit down and think about what kind of life you want to build for yourself. What do you want? And it's going to be difficult because at this point, you're not going to believe that you can have this life while there's all these people all around you doing all of this crazy stuff, right? This is where discipline is extremely, you have to cultivate an environment around you in that moment, whether that means, you're energetically cleaning your environment, okay, with the sage. You're getting the crystals, you're getting the right music, you're calming yourself down, you're watching something on TV, you're doing something to put you in the frame of mind that you want to be. So whatever you're watching, whatever you're listening to, must be attuned to what you want. If you want love in your life, you're listening to love songs. More than one. You're getting in that flow. You're building up your momentum. You might watch something on TV. If it's money that you want, if it's whatever you want, you're watching something in line with what you want. You cultivate that mindset, that calm, that aura around you. And now that you're in that correct frame of mind, you properly sit down and you think about what it is that you want for yourself. And you take all this energy that's coming your way. You're not doing it yourself. You don't need to do it yourself. You can pray. All of this energy that's coming your way, and whoever it is that you believe in, hopefully you're strong in your faith. You really believe it, and it's not just like a gimmick to you. And this is what you do whenever you're getting these bouts of heavy energy, especially in the beginning, because that's when you get the most energy. That's when you get the most free energy, is right in the beginning of being gang stalked. They are throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at you, including the entire island, they're throwing at you. Okay? Like, this is called transmuting energy. It's not something that I expect everybody to do. I'm just throwing it out there. If you do pray, okay, manifest yourself a new beginning. And part of that beginning will be in getting yourself out of the situation that you're in. But again, you cannot imagine the gold mine of just one person obsessing over you, just one person giving you all that free energy, just one person. Do you know what you could do with one person obsessing over you? Let's talk about it in a non-spiritual way. Let's talk about it in a human way. You have one hater that is telling everybody that you cannot do something, and you've decided to use their energy of hating on you to fuel you to your next step. So every piece of work you put out that you would have normally put out in a sloppy manner, you start tapping into how they would think and what they would say, and you're like, I can't put that out because my haters are watching. I got to put out better work. And so now, with the obsession that they've given you, you've now taken that obsession and you've built yourself better. You're producing better work. You are not relaxing, resting, or any of that as much as you would have, because you want to produce work where no one can say, well, this isn't nice, or this isn't good, or this isn't worthy. So now you're producing work where no one has anything to say. This is how, when people hate on you, they put you in a position. Black people talk about that all the time. Well, somebody's hating on me. But it's like, well, maybe what a lot of people do is they work harder, they work smarter, they put bulletproof workout. They feel that they have something to prove. It's like, it's exactly that, but spiritually. It's the same thing. So if you're talking about the amount of energy that's being sent your way, converting that into dollars, if you had one hater who was hating on you while you were putting a business together, and your business went from generating 30K a month, but with all this work, dedication, and focus, you're now putting out 100K of work. One hater. If you can survive having 1,000 haters, you're going to have $1 billion company. That's what you should be doing right now. People want to put you in a a defeatist frame of mind where you're beating down on yourself. But if you can survive gang stalking, you could do anything. There are billionaires out there that can't put up with what you're putting up with. There are people with a lot of money that couldn't imagine going through this. It's not about that. It's about the fact that, look at the soft skills that you need to survive this situation. I'm talking about emotionally. You need to be a person who's tenacious. You need to inherently be a person who responds to being beat down upon, being spoken down about, who responds to all of that by constantly getting up and continuing. You need to be a person who is blindly confident, who doesn't gain their confidence or their validation from what other people are saying. You need to be a person who doesn't get down on yourself, who doesn't. Now, it's not to say that this doesn't happen. It's to say that you can pick yourself up after. It's to say that you don't stay down. And for you to survive spell work, slander, people causing you anxiety, and I say the spell work first, and it's not small. All of the other stuff only works with the spell work. The slander takes hold. Most people who are gang stalked are innocent people, law abiding, honest, etc., etc. For all of this to work, and I'm not gonna say most, like there's drug mules and people like that, and like, so please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I'm talking about the ones I see come on YouTube and talk. They look like normal people, right? For you to go through all of this and you're saying that there are people being gang stalked who are still at the job that's gang stalking them 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. A person like that shouldn't be working anywhere. They should be building a brand, because building a company is definitely not going to put you in that kind of 24/7 stress. And even worse, if you can maintain your footing at the same time of going through all of this, what is there that you can't do? And I put it in the context of building a business. It could be an invention, it could be whatever, it could be anything. But just realize that from a spiritual place, it is a massive risk when they do this kind of spell work on you, because this kind of stuff, this kind of energy work, puts people in situations where they're sacrificing themselves, and the practitioners doing the work are also sacrificing the people that get energetically involved. When they exchange money, the money is a transfer of energy and also implicates them spiritually. So they become one, they're under the same umbrella. It's a massive risk, because if it doesn't work, everything that they have sent towards you comes back towards them. And in my situation, that's exactly what's happening. These things are very, very complicated. I wouldn't want to, you don't need to know the details of it. Who cares? If you pray and you have a really good relationship with God, all you have to do is say, I'm going through this situation. I will endure. I will get to the end of it. This is the life that I want. And you pray about it consistently. Pray about it. Ask for it. Don't just ask for it to end. You're getting way more energy than just that. You need to be very, think big. Think huge. I'll tell you, I was going to work while being gang stalked, and at times I would count like 10 cars, 12 cars, 15 cars, like a lot of cars following me to work, right? And I would be thinking about what I would be doing in a few years. And there were things that I kind of always wanted to do. And listen, I went ahead and I have names picked out. I have slogans picked out, mission statements for things. I have locations figured out. I have a lot of things figured out while I'm being gang stalked. That's what you're supposed to do. I say this constantly. It's like children. Children will go through very traumatic things and come out of it, and they have probably buried some things and they've probably ignored some things, but it doesn't matter. All that really matters is that they've survived it fairly mentally insulated from the hard trauma. It's really important to remain childlike. It's really important to remain playful in your energy, at least with yourself. It's really important to remain in a state of mind where you're just ignoring things that you don't need. You get to sift and sort through your own reality and decide what you want to acknowledge. We're at the point of being gang stalked now, so it doesn't matter what normal people say. It doesn't matter if people say you're crazy. They're not helping you. It doesn't matter. Really, all it boils down to is, think about in the scene in The Matrix where all the bullets were coming at this guy and it stopped. And he was kind of like pushing it aside. Not just in The Matrix, but any movie, and they kind of push it aside. A lot of stuff is coming at you. You get to decide what is important to acknowledge and what is not. People running around you and making a scene in your vicinity as you walk the streets, not important to acknowledge. Their purpose there is to keep you in a state of constant anxiety. It's not something that needs to be addressed, and there's nothing that needs to be done about it. Now, people slandering you, you might want to do something about that. Collecting evidence as you can, you might want to do something about that. But if there is no ROI, you must always sift everything through a filter of, what can I get out of it? This is why I don't like the military energy weapon conversation, because first of all, I don't believe it. I know it's spell work. I know for a fact it's spell work. Okay? Let's dead that conversation for me personally. If you do believe this military weapons, I don't know why the military, you think the military is not the police. I think police would sell personal information, but military is governmental. They're looking at country to country, and they're not leaking proprietary energy weapons to civilians to do, like, please, that is just a conversation that they made to make people look crazy. Okay, it's spell work. But even if it was military weapons, what can we do about that? What can you do? Do you have counter military intelligence? That's you can't do anything. It's not worth acknowledging. There must be a return on investment in whatever it is that you want to acknowledge. You get to acknowledge what you want to acknowledge. I'll tell you where I learned this, okay? When I was younger, I had a family friend, and this girl was blindly optimistic. And I at the time I was a very realistic. So I was the realistic one, she was the optimistic one. And no matter what bad thing would happen, this girl had an optimistic answer. And there were times I'd get mad at her. I'd be like, you're so ridiculous. Then I started buying into it, because if you hang out with someone often enough, you're going to adopt, like, you guys are going to rub off on each other. So it rubs off on me. I'm blindly optimistic about everything. And things just always worked the way that I wanted it to work, regardless. And it really didn't matter what the actual circumstances were. And that was her thing. And I don't think she knew what she was doing, but no matter what the circumstances were and no matter how long the circumstances persisted, she was always optimistic. Now, to add to that, in order for this to work, you also have to be a good person, and that's a catch 22. That's why it doesn't work for a lot of people. She was a really good person. She was always helping people, going out of her way. She was very positive and she was very happy. Let me explain how it works. You wake up, you're happy, you're in a good mood. It doesn't matter if you're early to work or not. Your good mood rubs off on everybody everywhere you go. So say you get to your job in a good mood, the way you greet people is very different from the way somebody in a normal mood greets someone. Someone in a normal mood is like, "Hey, how are you? Good morning." But you're happy and you're like, "Oh my god, how are you?" Da, da, da. You run up, you give a hug, da da da. They may have been in a bad mood, but your good mood is stronger because it's just a lighter energy. And it's also an energy that's easier to take on. People then were gonna give you a warning for being late, but now they got wrapped up in this whole conversation. You brought them a coffee, you guys are sitting down, you're having a conversation, they forget. So it doesn't even matter if you're in a bad mood or not. It doesn't matter if you were late or not. It doesn't matter if you handed in that report yesterday or not. Nobody remembers that because people just want to be happy. Say there's an incident in the parking lot where somebody takes your regular parking spot, or there's this person, this kid who cannot drive. They don't know how to reverse, they don't know how to park. They're in your way. And if you were in a horrible mood, you would have put the car, you would have been honking at them, making this mess. "Oh my God, I'm late. You better hurry up. I got to get out of here." But you're in a good mood. So you reverse, you give them more space. They appreciate it. They wave, they say thank you. You say thank you. You feel good. They feel good. The world is a nice place. Every second, every hour of your day is positive. It doesn't matter what the actual circumstances of the day are. It only matters that you're feeling good about yourself. As you walk around like this is who you are. This is who people know you as. A happy person who brings happiness everywhere they go. And so everybody likes you. The people who are not supposed to like you, the gang stalkers who are told bad things about you, they're not allowed to like you. They're supposed to come in there to insult you. They forget to insult you. They're having a great day. People used to come to my store and everybody was leaving with like a hug. Not because I wanted to hug them, because they wanted to hug me. They were like, "Thank you so much. It was such a good experience." It just is my natural way of being on a natural day. Everywhere I go, I have a conversation with someone because I care. I actually want to know. I'm not just asking, how was your day just to get the discount. I'm asking, how's your day? Because I want to know, how are things around here? I'm probably going to bring you something the next time I see, because I remember you and you remember me. And now, in a way, you're kind of my friend. Not really, but I have good feelings when I see you. So the minute you see me turning the corner and I see you, we're smiling. We're like, oh my God, my friend, I gotta go talk to her. Even if I'm just having a bit of a day, I'm gonna say, oh my God, how's your day? And I remember that story because, again, I actually cared. Now, I think for other people, sometimes it kind of seems like I don't have much to do or there's never any urgency to my day. Kind of no, because I don't know. I take time to smell the flowers. It might be weird, but it's like I'm not rushing through the day because, again, it doesn't really matter. It's the intention behind what you do that matters. If you try to be a fake happy person and run through the world to try to get discounts everywhere, people are going to smell you down the street. And you're going to see when you turn the corner, they're going to look at you and be like, oh my God, he's here again. Because you're manipulative and you're using and you're not, it's the intention, because this is not something that can be faked. This is something that is truly who you are. Like when you bring that energy with you, when you go everywhere with that energy, people feel it. So if you're faking it, if it's just, people also feel it, and believe me, they're discussing it, because now you've done more damage. It would have been better to just be your grumpy self. There are some people who like grumpy people. I like grumpy cats. It's like, it's cute. It doesn't necessarily mean they're unhappy or who knows what it means. But for me, it's like I don't let that affect me personally. I'm still going to be in a good mood. Sometimes I think it's cute. But at the end of the day, all it boils down to is you're maintaining your vibration and you're maintaining your energy, and people are going to have to either rise to meet you, or if they don't meet you, if they can't rise to meet you where you are, then you're like, you know what, I gotta go. It is what it is. Like, you're not going to waste your time in a situation. You're just going to be like, wow, I wonder why they're so upset. So, gang stalking, and especially the phase that I'm at with gang stalking is, there's someone in my energy right now. He's not happy when he's never happy, actually. He's just not a happy person at all. He's never been happy. He's using paint today to mask his scent. Sometimes it's bleach, a lot of times it's bleach. All the practitioners who've worked on me, they're not having a good time. Usually it's only two. There was one that came in my energy one time, and that one smelled like urine. And I thought, my goodness, they're in an awful place where all of them are now starting to smell that awfully. They're smelling like the entities that they work with. But anyway, as I was saying, and it's so crazy because I'm discussing happiness and joy and being a good person and feeling good feelings, and someone could actually be mad at that. So you can only imagine, if they're mad at that, they're mad at everything. Like, who doesn't want to be a happy person? It's a very weird energy. It's very weird. Very, very weird. Anyway, but yeah, the point of what I'm saying is positivity. It's not about fake positivity. It's just about enjoying your life. And so whether or not I was being gang stalked or not, my vibration always high. It doesn't matter if you have moods, because that's normal. It's not about being like this overly happy person all the time. Not possible. And I want to make that very clear. Not possible. Don't set yourself up to a standard where you feel like you have to be fake positive and fake happy at all times. You really don't. You really don't. What has to happen is you have to constantly work on your vibration. You have to work on the way that you feel. And you have to decide that there are some things that are not worth acknowledging. And that for me is at all times. at all times. There's never a moment where I'm not picking what I want to focus on and what I don't. Now, I had a lot of angst, and this actually ties really well into the next thing I want to talk about. I had a lot of angst, a lot of anger that I had to get out of my system. Again, this is not about being fake, and it's not about being unrealistic, and it's not about not acknowledging things that are actually happening, because things are actually happening. You're in an injustice. Things are very scary. You probably have financial issues. You probably have, health issues. You probably have issues in your relationships, on and on and on and on. So it's not about not acknowledging that things are happening to you, but it's just about making sure that at the end of the day, you reset yourself, have a good meditation, have a good prayer, talk to God about what you want, talk to God about what you don't want, give thanks to God for having an amazing day. Go to bed with a reset energy, recharged energy, and wake up the next day and do the same thing, and make it a habit where you are no longer depending on the elements in your environment to have a good day, but you are making yourself have a good day. This is part of emotional management, and it is extremely important. It is a lesson that I had to learn before getting into before being gang stalked. And it's a lesson that not just that I had to learn, but I had to master, and I had to live. I had to live that way. And it was easy to want to master it because it feels so good. It feels so good to have. And this is what is meant by having a heart that is light as a feather. It's despite whatever's going on around you, despite things in your circumstance, you're always going to be childlike. You're always going to be light. You're always going to be happy. So that's what that's about. This ties into the next thing that I had to talk about, which is forgiveness. I had to Google forgiveness because in my mind, I'm like, I've never forgiven anyone in my life. When I Googled forgiveness, I realized, oh my God, I've always forgiven people because I just didn't know what forgiveness was. So imagine going through gang stalking and then feeling like God is encouraging you to be forgiving, and you're hearing the forgiveness conversation everywhere. And I know when God's speaking to me and I'm like, absolutely not. There's no way I want to hold on to this. Not just that I want to hold on to this, but it's like, this is unforgivable. These things that have happened to me are unforgivable. Then I Googled the definition because the conversation kept coming up. And I realized that forgiveness is just releasing the anger, releasing the emotions that are holding you back, releasing, the parts of you that are unhealed and constantly like being triggered. So I held on to the issue for a while, and it is unforgivable. It is very unforgivable what's happened. I held on to it, but then I was constantly being triggered. And after a while, very soon, I was like, listen, I can't carry this anymore. Like, this is a lot of work to constantly be upset and hold on to this anger. And I just decided, like, I just didn't want to be angry anymore. And this is where, and I kind of knew this from before. So my process in past when someone's hurt me has literally just been to release it, let the universe handle it and figure it out, and just move on with my life. And that is what I've always done. I've just let it go. I've dropped everything. I've dropped them for sure, gotten them out of my space, but out of my head and out of my heart. So I don't have to hold on to that grudge. So when I look into the past, I don't have to be like, let me count the 100 people who've done me wrong. It's too much to constantly carry. However, there have been people who I have held onto the grudge, random people. So I've talked about this in another video, and I'm going to talk about this again because I really feel like I need to pass on this information. For the random people who've really offended me and done me wrong and who've really hurt me, while meditating, while watching random bits of media, while reading things, while driving, it would come to me. Sometimes it would just be like my voice in my head. Sometimes it'd be whatever, and it would just be like, This didn't work because it wasn't supposed to. And because it didn't work, this other thing happened for you. Had it worked, this wouldn't have happened. And that was my closure. Like literally, and it was so weird because it's like I've been holding on to this for like 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And all of a sudden, it was like all of the angst just disappeared. All of the feeling of being upset, all of it just evaporated all at once. And I was no longer upset. And I have it written here about the importance of closure. A lot of times, say if somebody just gets up and ghosts you, it's very traumatic. In my situation where somebody is keeping relationships away from drug mules, good relationships, the drug mule themselves will be gang stalked until they get up and they ghost that person, probably because they love that person, they don't want that person involved in this world, whatever this, these crazy people. And so that leaves you in a situation where you don't have closure because they don't want to tell you, or maybe they're not allowed to tell you what's happening. So there's no closure in the situation. They haven't sat down and said, this is what I'm going through and I'm working through it and blah, blah, blah. They've said nothing. Closure is really, really, really important because it just gives you the opportunity for you to say, you know what? I'm not happy about what happened here, but at least I know why it happened. And so it's going to be easy for me to close the door and leave. In this situation, these guys, they want you to have no closure, probably because they're trying to recruit you to be a drug mule as well. But they want you to have no closure in the situation. They want this person to hurt you so that you develop this anger, this hate, whatever. It's a very sadistic thing. Like you got to be a very unhappy person to have come up with this, right? They want you to feel that way, and so you walk away with no closure. And for me, I always, or recently, this is a recent thing that gang stalking has taught me, is to how to find my own closure. And so, it is what it is. I found my closure. But I found my closure for a lot of different situations. And once you create your own closure, it's much easier for you to just like let go of control and just release the situation and just let it be what it is. And so that is my method for forgiving now, is saying that it just wasn't meant to be. So that's why it didn't happen. It wasn't meant to be. Um, as far as not carrying the anger of towards John Ferrer of being gang stalked. This was something that really took a lot of work because it was in and out. I get triggered by it like all the time. But I was driving very recently and I thought to myself, so this is where things are with them. There's a lot of divination to figure out when I'm leaving the house, where I'm going, what I'm going to be doing for the day, etc. And so if I say, for example, I'm going to go to the bank, they station people at all the bank branches that they think I'm likely to go to. So everything in the vicinity. And so there are people just sitting there just waiting for me to show up. Because the reality is, it's hard to follow anybody without a tracking device. Having the GPS, I don't put it, I don't put anything past a person who's fighting for their life. So absolutely, I think there's a GPS on my vehicle and I'm gonna find it because I've said so. But even if there were no GPS, it's like they're just waiting around. You drive up and the people are bored. They're tired, they're annoyed. Even if they're just waiting for you to walk by, they're annoyed. Like if it's cold outside, they're sitting in the cold, like for quite some time. And I'm keeping the adoring public waiting because for whatever reason, I'm not on a schedule. I don't have to be anywhere for whatever time. Anyway, it's like forgiving is part of healing. So this is not something that he's going to be eager for me to do, whether it's him or not. He wants to see me in a fighting posture. He wants to see me triggered. He wants to see me upset because that's how he is. Could you imagine fighting someone? They're calm, they're healed, they're in a good place, they've moved on, they've flown away from the drama, and you're emotionally still stuck in that cycle. It'd be ridiculous, right? So he doesn't want me to move on from that. But I was driving and something came to mind, and I thought to myself, all the residual people that are still signing up for this situation to follow me or just to do this, I have to encounter all of them. It has to play out the way that it's playing out. There can't be any people left over. There can't be any people left on the board. Everybody has to encounter you. And that's how you have to look at it. And, I can't say that I didn't learn anything from this situation. This situation has been like, if life is a university, this has been a PhD course. I have leveled up in every facet of my life. There has not been one facet of my life that I have not gained wisdom, clarity, that it hasn't taught me something, that I haven't gotten better. There's not been one facet of my life. It has challenged me in every way possible. Has it been fun? Absolutely not. However, going into a fresh start, being the person that I am today, I'm so different than I used to be. And so much more in control of myself, and so much more. And I thought I was patient before. I thought I was resilient before. I thought I had self control before. I'm to another level with that stuff. And you kind of just have to look at it that way. As far as saying, do I forgive the situation? The word forgiving is so misleading. It's very tough for me to say I forgive, but I can say I release the situation because my heart feels light. And as far as my emotions go, I don't feel weighed down, and I don't feel angry, and I don't feel like lashing out all the time, etc., etc. Now, I don't know, I really feel like other people hold me to a higher standard than I hold myself to high standard too, but I feel like people hold me to a higher standard than they hold other people. I really feel like people expect me to be perfect, and it's like I allow myself all the time to have my feelings. I'm very happy I got my chance to be petty about the situation. I'm very happy I got my chance to lash out. I got my chance to be angry. I felt like for a year and a half everybody had everything to say about me and everything to say about everything in the world. And then I got my 20 minutes to say what I thought about other people, because I was seeing people too. I think people thought maybe I was in the dark and I didn't see them and I didn't know. But it's like, no, 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 no. I saw everything, and I know who you are, and I know what you guys are. There wasn't a single gang stalker that I thought, wow, this is a person I would sit and have a coffee with. Not really. There was no one that I would say I would admire. So I never was of the energy that I wanted to fit into that world. That's really not my type of thing. None of it is my type of thing. Even if it just all looked very, it looked like people, honestly, if I had to say like if I had to kind of describe them as a group, they look to me like people who would have never had the opportunity to be who they are trying to be, other than banding together and stealing. They looked like people who didn't have too much self-esteem and didn't have the tools to groom themselves into the people that they want to be. And so they figured, well, if I have a house that looks like this, and if I have a car that looks like this, and if I have a watch that looks like this, and if I have a man that looks like this, then maybe I can be the person that I always aspire to be. But that's at the core of it. If they got into a group of those people who are actually what they aspire to be, those people would sniff them out immediately and say, well, that watch is stolen, or not stolen, is fake, or it's 3 generations old, or there's just something, you see, because affluence, wealth, it's an energy. It doesn't require anything to be it. There are people who are in affluent society who don't have very much as far as wealth goes. they're very well accepted, and they're very well received in that environment because they have the air, they have the continence, they have the attitude of affluence, they have the spirit. That's why in tarot you can be wealthy. The card that comes up to describe you is could be a card of wealth, but you yourself could be in abject poverty. It's the same way. The best way to describe it is how Warren Buffett could have 10 billion dollars, but live in a house that costs $300,000. And wherever he goes and whatever he does, he doesn't need to buy anything to fit in there. It's like, it's just a presence that you have. So if you feel like you need the name brand clothing, and you need the house, and you need the connections, and you need to drop names and whatever, then it's actually not who you are. That's how I saw that group. I saw them like rappers. I didn't see them as high society. I didn't see them as people that I needed to impress. As a matter of fact, I just, and no looking down on anyone, I saw it as a sex cult of satanic people who are misguided, confused, and who are slowly dying. That's how I saw it. And it was sad. And some of them were lovely people. Like when the mask falls off, some of them are not like, it's like, why are you doing this? You didn't even need to do this to fit in. Let me tell you something. When you're looking at the being cultured, because this is what it boils down to. It's really not about money exactly, but if you're looking at being cultured, you don't need to know how to pronounce expensive French wines and like to know the actual color of Ferraris by name. Like you don't really need that. You just need to be a personable person. Be yourself. If you have a genuine interest in wines, then you have a genuine interest in wines and look into it. But for you to go into an environment and name drop, it's going to put people on edge. They're going to be like, this one's trying very hard to be here, and it's going to push people away. And that's the kind of thing that I saw, and it's cheap. It cheapens you. It like lowers your value. Doesn't matter what you have in the bank. Again, it's not about that. It's an energy. So for me, it's like, in a sense, it kind of makes it easier to release it, because it's like, I see people who are very much trying their best by any means necessary to be something in society. And it's probably some deep rooted, like, childhood insecurity of like, my parents didn't have, and I always wanted to be around these people. It's probably something like that. But this is why healing is important. It's important to heal, and part of healing is forgiving things or releasing things. The word forgiveness, I don't know, I need a new word, because I oftentimes think that forgiveness, when people ask me for forgiveness, I know it's because they want me to absolve them of what they've done and look at them like they're not who I know them to be. I've done this awful thing that's highlighted me to be a very evil, toxic person. But if you forgive me, it means that now I don't have to live with being an evil, toxic person, and I've gotten away with it, and I don't have to feel guilty, and I could move on. If that's what forgiveness is, then I can't do that. But if it means internally me releasing it and letting the anger of it go, sure, I can do that, but that's for me. So there would be, as far as like, I've divorced all of that. I feel no need to re-engage with anyone, or to, I don't need for someone to call me and say, hey, I'm sorry. I assume if they are, I assume they are, and if they're not, I assume they're not. I can tell the people that there are people who are genuinely sorry and who wish it never happened. I can sense which ones those are. I know for people like John Ferrer, absolutely not. He'll never admit that he did anything wrong, or like, but it doesn't matter. It's up to him to feel however he does. And it's his battle at this point to continue fighting. He has a job to do, and he needs to fight for his life, and he wants to stay alive and out of jail and all these other things that come with what he's done. But that has nothing to do with me, honestly. And so I just remove myself from it. Um, the purpose of the attacks for me, and this is what I can take for myself, I feel like the purpose of these attacks, I have really learned to build through opposition. I have not had to, it's been so overbearing. I've not, when this kind of spell work first comes on you, it feels like a mansion, like a house, like a ton of bricks has just, like a building has collapsed over you. It's very heavy energy. And then you have to climb up from that energy. You have to stand up. You have to pick yourself up out of the rubble. And you're still doing all of this while still going to work, still maintaining a home, still having kids, still like, so it's a lot of mind over matter. It's very, and this is why I talk about discipline and patience, but this is how everything works. This is how war works. This is how everything works. Like, fun fact, I've taken no medication to have my kids. I have two kids. I had them completely with no medication, not even Tylenol, no numbing whatsoever. 25 hours and 7 hours, and the 7 hour labor was the 25 hours basically condensed into 7. It was ridiculous, but I did that off of principle because I just didn't want to take the medication. I read about it and I was like, I don't want to do that to my kid. That's the kind of person I am. I can put up with a lot, but this is still very challenging for a number of reasons. But there are a number of things that I had to let go of. I had to let go of caring how people see me. I had to, and I really held on to my public image because I've lived a very good life as far as like just being a good person and always taking care of people and always being, my best self, etc., etc. Not to say that I'm perfect, and people think that I think I'm perfect. I'm very aware that I'm not. Um, but there are a lot of things I just had to like let go of. And then when I was done with all of that, it's like you have to build. You have to build through someone constantly being in your energy. I had to come to terms with the fact that there's someone that I am the sun in their galaxy. Like, they live their life around the focus on me. I had to come, I have spent a lot of my time shying away from being center stage. So even if I were building something or doing something with my business, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't like attention. And actually, you know what, to be honest, I used to look down on people who liked attention because it was like a cheapening quality to me in my mind, how I interpreted it. But now I have to learn to be in front of a camera, doing YouTube videos, having someone focus on every single part of my life. So if I'm sitting here and I'm talking about being happy and being a good person, this person's gonna astral project into my space. It's really crazy when you think about it. It's nuts. A part of me is flattered, and 90% of me is 98% of me is, like, wow, it's weird. It's very weird. I couldn't imagine giving someone this much energy. I couldn't imagine. It's probably draining and it's grueling, and I can't imagine someone actually wanting to do this. I don't know what he's going through personally, but I don't want to know either, because ain't no way I just could not devote so much of my life to something and not see any return on my investment. So, it's craziness. You're going through this situation and all these people are surrounding you, and no matter how many people are following you, like, hard to put a number on it. I tend to think that it's less people than people actually think, but what do I know? Different cities, different whatever, it's probably different, right? But I would say use the energy to build yourself into the best. And it's not my first video saying this, but it felt like something I needed to say again. Use it as training. Use the energy to build yourself mentally, emotionally, in every aspect that you can. Take it as a challenge every day to be the best version of yourself that you can, to discipline yourself in the best way that you can. and try to live the best life that you can. Don't absorb all the pressure, whether it's very strong. And if you're a very sensitive and empathetic, you will feel a lot of this energy, and you might be very affected by it. But I mean, I give a lot of help, like I said, with crystals and with sage and with testing your environment. There's so many things. Look up more things, look up how to protect yourself, etc., etc. But with everything that is going on, just build yourself to a point where you feel strong enough to handle what's going on, and you feel that you can see a bright tomorrow for yourself. As for me, to be honest, I feel extremely optimistic about my future. I feel very I feel happy with the place that I'm in. I've earned it. But more so, my the bulk of my happiness would always come from how I feel about myself, and you know how I score myself, because I do evaluate myself a lot. But how I would rate how I've gone through this. I'm a Virgo and I'm very hard on myself, but to be honest with you, like, perfect or not, I did my best. I gave it everything. I'm extremely proud of myself, and I know that what I've come out of is nothing easy, and I'm extremely proud of it. So, being where I am right now, I just know that in and of itself, I would be happy no matter where I landed from here, and no matter what happened. But I know that God is with me. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if God is not. And I have people always come in here with stuff. Who knows what this is about? Okay, no idea what this is about. Somebody just came in here with some. This might be a fake follower or one of these things. Who knows what happens with who knows. Anyway, that being the case, that is my life for tonight. That is really the encouragement that I wanted to give. In other situations, I would probably look at this situation and say, oh my gosh, like, I just want the technical information. I would want information about, like, you know turning your cell phone off and using cash and whatever. But having gone through it myself, I promise you, information about emotional management and finding hope and healing and what somebody else went through to get through it, absolutely, I would want that in a heartbeat. So I hope it's doing something for someone. Sorry that I'm coming on live so late. I will try to do better in future. However, yeah, that's my life for tonight, and have a good night.